25 years of work was stored in a basement in Chelsea when Hurricane Sandy hit. There was 5 feet of water, which pretty much means everything was submerged. I actually had a drawing retrospective scheduled in Dublin, Ireland. About 80% of the work that was destined for that exhibition was in Hurricane Sandy. I was desperate to get that work revitalized.
If your art is water damaged, there is a threat of mold. It may be possible to salvage your artwork, so please don't immediately throw anything away. Hi, I'm MJ Davis. I'm an art conservator, and I'm here today to prevent your emergency from becoming a disaster. You have about 48 hours before mold will occur. You should never go into any kind of a compromised space by yourself. A successful salvage is one that has been well planned, and you need to protect yourself. Wear personal protective equipment. Do a damage assessment. Document the damage that has occurred. Make a plan of attack. Separate all the artworks by condition. Remove undamaged work and create a triage area. You'll need table space and supplies for drying. In this two-part video, I'm going to show you how to prevent or lessen mold damage on your artwork. First, how to dry out mold, then basic techniques for removing it. What do you do with your wet, moldy stuff? You need to dry the mold out. You have two choices. You can air dry things, or you can freeze them. Freezing will deactivate the mold. It won't get rid of it, but it will slow it down from eating and destroying your artwork. You take your artwork and interleave it with wax paper. Very carefully lifting it, because when paper gets wet, it gets a little heavier and it can be more sensitive to tearing. So I usually like to try and lift by the corners diagonally, interleafing as I go. And then you can put all of this into a plastic bag so that it protects it from other items that might be clean in your freezer. Tape it up, and now it's ready to put into the freezer. Freezing your artwork allows you to bring things out of the freezer in small batches so that you can then utilize your flat space and work on your artwork at a slower pace when you have more time and when you're not so emotionally upset. It's important to control the humidity in the workspace. Run a dehumidifier and make sure the air circulates. Use a box fan. Place it in a window so that it is actively sucking air out of the room. Another fan on the other side of the room that's pulling in fresh air. Ideally, you want to try and get to 45% relative humidity, and that will help reduce the mold bloom. Air drying paper and photographs is fairly simple. You need lots of flat space with your absorbent materials on top. You can let them air dry on top of towels and paper, changing them frequently. Or another great way to save space is to put them on some kind of a screen. You could use the window screens from your house. If you have racks in your studio, you could use those for air drying as well. Another method for air drying is clipping the corner of the paper to the clothesline to air dry. This will maximize your air drying space. Air drying paintings. If the painting is slightly damp, air dry it face up. Raise them up onto the supports so that you have airflow so that the air will pass over the back and slowly dry the back out as well. If the painting is very wet or moldy, flip it and air dry face down. If a lot of your paintings have been water damaged and have mold on them, I would highly recommend that you consult a paintings conservator to just simply help you with the protocol of moving forward. When textiles get wet and moldy, they're going to be very heavy, possibly fragile, and hard to handle. So it's always good to have some kind of a support underneath that textile when you're transporting it to air dry it. You would bring it up next to your screen and then very carefully move it over onto your screen for drying. Different types of materials take different lengths of time. Paper will take maybe a day. A thick textile will take 2 to 3 days. Test the paper's dryness with the back of your hand. And if it feels cool, then it's probably not quite dry. Once it feels not cool, then you're all done. Now it's time to get off the dried mold. A vacuum cleaner that has a HEPA filter is necessary because a vacuum that doesn't have it will blow the mold spores back out into the room. This is simply fiberglass window screening, which you can buy at the hardware store. And we're going to use it as a separator between the artwork and the head of the vacuum like this. So for paper, the technique is to move the head of the vacuum like this. You can further reduce the mold by using a natural bristled brush and brushing into the nozzle of the vacuum. Never directly put the vacuum onto the artwork. Textiles, again, we're going to use fiberglass screening, so it's going to be a similar motion as we used with paper, the pouncing. Wash the screening, vacuum brush, and other hand tools in warm, soapy water to remove any mold spores. This will prevent cross-contamination. Here are gentle surface cleaning methods to remove any remaining mold. And you can do this with eraser crumbs. This is a vinyl eraser, and this is a ginger grater. Gently massage the crumbs over the surface of the paper, picking up any little bits that might be there, and then simply removing them by dusting it off after you're done. Another method is to use a kneaded eraser. Form a point to precisely dab the artwork and pick up the specks of mold. Make new points frequently and discard the eraser when finished. Mineral spirits can be effective at reducing mold from finished wooden surfaces, such as frames, furniture, and sculpture. First test an inconspicuous area and let it dry. If the mineral spirits do not harm the finish, carefully continue with your cleaning. You don't have to have a total loss. The things that you will do step by step will make a difference.
You have to just continue using those things that propel you forward as an artist to propel you through the process of conservation. You just have to be brave, take a deep breath, and just go for it. Because it will work. It does work.